So it's wonderful to be with you all this morning. And initially I wanted to offer us a class that was really about finding our home ground. And then for those of us in South Africa and in the UK, last night we were told that home would become a place where we have to stay in lockdown. So it may be that we start to have a different relationship with home. Instead of feeling like a place of safety, a place of sanctuary, it may feel like a restriction, like a boundary. So what I wanted to look at in our practice today is both how to kind of ground ourselves into that sense of safety and sanctuary, and at the same time explore how when we find a boundary, it gives us access to a sense of freedom. So we'll do that through our breath, we'll do that through our moving practices, and a chance to explore experientially what we may, the different relationship we may be finding with that term home, or that experience of boundary. So let's begin just by bringing hands to the heart. And honoring yourself this morning. You've made it to your mat. Taking time to turn inwards. When we can't go outside, we can turn inside. So I like to start most classes with a general intention, and then there'll be an opportunity for you just to explore for yourself what your intention is for this practice and for the day. So our general intention is to cultivate mindful awareness of this body of ours, the world of physical sensation, as well as awareness of the heart and the mind, the world of thoughts and feelings. And we recognize that by doing this, we can bring great sense of well-being to ourselves, and in turn offer that out to those with whom we share our life. And now taking a moment just to experience for yourself what your wish may be for this morning. And then gently offering that up and out into the world. And then bringing the hands gently down onto the knees. So we'll start by experiencing the breath. You may want to bring one hand to the belly and one onto the chest. So the yogic breath is known as a three-part breath. We first breathe into the belly, and then it rises up into the rib cage, and then we feel the breath rising up into the collarbone. So just start by drawing that breath deeply down into the belly, seeing if you can allow the hand to move. Allow the belly to push out into the hand. Then feel the breath expanding into the ribs and rising up into the collarbone. And then it gently moves out, the collarbones soften, the ribs release, the belly gently draws back towards the spine. Feel that gentle expansion. And then a softening. And when you can feel the breath moving in the body, you're welcome to release the hands. And just keep going with that three-part breath, starting with the belly rising up. Maybe a sense of the spine also lengthening, the crown of the head lifting. And then as the breath flows back out, feeling the shoulders softening and a sense of returning to earth. So we can think of the rib cage and the belly as the boundary for the breath. And as we draw the breath in, we push out against that boundary. And then what do you experience on the inside? Maybe a sense of openness, of spaciousness. Noticing if we can find that internal sense of freedom, where the breath flows in and out. And then let's add the arms. So we're grounding down through the sits bones. And as we inhale, the breath rises up the body, the arms also lift. And then holding the arms where they are, just reaching one into the sky. And then the other. So we're grounding down through the sits bones. And where we find that connection with the earth, we can now reach up into the sky. So finding that sense of freedom, of spaciousness, of opening right up to the fingertips. And then interlacing the fingers, turning the palms upwards and pushing into the sky. So our tendency is to hunch the shoulders around the ears, but see now if you can pull them down so that there's space around the ears and there's lengthening through the arms. So now the downward movement of the shoulders provides our boundary, and the upward push of the hands allows that sense of lengthening, of growing, of expanding, and then releasing the fingers, that sense of opening, finding our freedom. Let's take that twice more. Inhale, the arms up and overhead. Just reach up with alternate arms. Interlacing the fingers, pushing them up, pulling the shoulder blades down. So the sits bones are connected with the earth, with our home ground. The shoulder blades are connected against the upper back. And then maybe even lifting the gaze, finding that sense of opening and freedom as the arms release. So gently bringing that mindful awareness to the upper body. Inhale, lift. Reaching into the sky. This time both arms reach up and then letting your left hand come down. And then just explore over to the side. Where do you find that freedom through the rib cage? The buttocks, the bottom hand are holding you steady on the earth. And then feel where you can open right up into the armpits, along the arm, right through to fingertips. And then gently sweeping over to the other side. So grounding down, find that boundary against the earth. And then notice where we can breathe into the waist, into the ribs, the armpit, letting the head maybe gaze up. And then release. Bringing hands now onto the knees and drawing the heart forward. We're going to take little circles. So we're going to find the edge of the circle. That's our boundary. And then this flow of movement. Find the freedom in the body as we roll round and round. So awakening the waist and the hips. And just bringing that sense of juiciness into the parts of the body that may get a bit compressed or tight overnight. When you come to the front, you can change direction. A sense of unwinding. Preparing for the day ahead by opening a gentle awareness. And then coming upright, feeling the earth beneath you. That's our home ground. Feeling the breath sinking into the belly. That's our lower tantien. It's the kind of energy center of the body. We also think of that as a home ground. And then feel the breath running up and down the midline of the body, bringing us to our attentional home ground. And then gently moving yourself onto hands and knees. Let's lubricate the spine. So wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And starting with the tailbone, as you inhale, take the tailbone back and then lift it up and feel that wave moving through the whole of the spine. And then tailbone scoops under, feel the wave coming through each vertebrae, chin tucking into the chest. Inhale back and lift. Exhale, scoop, squeeze out the breath. So feeling how the lower legs and the hands are giving us that sense of safety, that groundedness. And then letting the body find its movement. Now you can imagine you're wearing a hula hoop and just rolling the body around, touching the edges of the hula hoop. So letting the body dance away this morning. When we're suddenly asked to restrict the places we go to, we have a renewed appreciation for the freedom of movement. So let's now find that same freedom within the body, changing direction with the hula hoop if you haven't already, and just feeling what it feels to move, to find that inner spaciousness. And then coming back to stillness, once again feeling the earth beneath you, that steady, grounded place. And then letting the right leg lift up behind. So the inner thigh lifts so that the right hip can stay, or the right, the front of the pelvis can stay flat towards the earth. And then letting the left arm reach out in front. So finding the balance here. Then release the hand, bring the knee up into the chest. Kick the leg back. Maybe this time it wants to go a little bit higher, arch into the back. Find some freedom here. Then the knee kicks in again, squeezing out the breath. Let the inhale fill the inner world with space, and let the leg move into space behind. And then release the knee back to the earth, finding your steadiness, the groundedness. And then on the other side, so the left leg lifts up, find the strength, really hugging the thigh muscle around the femur bone. And then let the right arm reach out in front. So notice how it feels not to be quite so steady on the earth. Notice what the earth offers us, that place of containment, Then release the hand down. You may feel steadier now with 3 points of contact. And then bring the knee into the chest. Kick it up and back on your next in-breath. Finding your own freedom of movement. And then bringing both knees, both hands to the earth. And notice how you can soften here, steady on the ground. And then resting back into child's pose. So this is a pose that you can come to at any stage during the yoga practice, particularly if you're newer to yoga. This is where we can really touch into that sense of groundedness. We can feel the earth beneath the shin bones and the arms and maybe the forehead. We can feel the breath moving into the lower tantien, the belly and the lower back. And we can just bring our attention to that sense of ease and rhythm of the breath. So from here, let's float forward. And then back. Floating forward on your inhale. Softening back. How does the body feel? Just to juice up this morning in a gentle way. No strain. Just a real wish to allow the joints to open. The muscles to fill with blood and stretch and lengthen. And we find that real sense of inner flow. So one more time we'll come forward. And then tucking the toes and coming into a crouching tiger. So bringing the buttocks towards the heels, find the length through the upper body. Really push the earth away from you. So we're grounded down, we have that boundary of the earth. And then as you take one heel back, you find the hips can move. So find that freedom in the hips. The body might go like a banana shape. As we gently move into the hips, find space through the ribcage. So feeling the calf muscles, the hamstrings start to awaken. And then when you're ready, coming into your first downward facing dog. The heels might well be above the earth, that's completely fine. The intention here is to have a lovely long straight spine, to allow the head to relax, lengthening the neck through the weight of the head. And then once again finding a little flow, we inhale forward into plank, exhale back, downward facing dog. The knees can bend as much as you need to, just find your own place of comfort. Letting our plank pose now warm up the abdominal muscles, the thigh muscles as they hug around the femur bone. Returning to downward dog and returning back home, child's pose. The knees can be a little apart, the belly can soften down between the thighs, and gently let the head come towards the earth. Deepen the breathing once more. And notice how the breath is able to create internal space. Feel it moving from belly to ribs, to the collarbones, opening up the whole of the torso. And then once again, coming into downward facing dog. And depending how you feel, you can take a very gentle walk to the front of the mat. Or if you're already feeling quite juicy, quite bouncy, then take a long exhale, bend the knees, and take a little bumps. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. And then pushing the feet into the earth. The earth is our boundary. We root down and we rise. So finding Tadasana, our mountain pose, it's a classic pose where we can feel steady and grounded. Just make sure the outside of the feet are in parallel. Let the knees be above the ankles, the hips above the knees. And then lifting the shoulders up to the ears, rolling them back and down. Let the arms rise up. And then we're going to play a little bit in our sun salute with our cactus arms. So just bring pointy, spiky fingers and pull the shoulder blades back. Feel them compressing together in the back body. Feel the heart open. And then bringing the forearms towards each other. Inhale, open them, bring them back. Feel the heart expand. Exhale, squeeze them in. Imagine resisting, pushing heavy air together. One more time, inhale back. And squeeze. And then let the arms rise up overhead. And now letting the arms open, feel that sense of freedom in the upper body. The feet are grounded into the earth. You maybe want to take a little back bend here, lifting the gaze. And then swallow down. All the way down to the ground. On your in-breath, lift the heart, flat back. And then on the out-breath, stepping the right leg back into lunge. You can bring the knee down to the ground, flatten the toes, find a steadiness, and gently come up, the hands on the front knee. So scooping the tailbone under, you'll probably notice a stretch through the front of the right hip. And then if that feels okay, maybe deepening just a little bit down. And then take the arms wide as we did in our Tadasana, and then into cactus arms. And then find some freedom here. Lift the gaze, maybe leaning back a little. Reaching the arms up and placing them back on the earth, tucking the toes and downward facing dog. Breathing in and breathing out. Floating forward into plank and then lowering yourself down to the ground using knees if you prefer. Deep breath in, feel the belly pushing against the earth. And then very gently, you can lift the heart. So a baby cobra pose. Just flowing with the in-breath. And then coming on to spiky fingers, so bringing them just in front of the shoulders. So there's a hollow under the hands, little spiky fingers, lifting up, pulling shoulder blades together, lowering down, lifting up, lowering down. And then take the spiky fingers a bit further in front so that you can lift And have straight arms. And just hold here for a moment as you invite the breath all the way down into the belly, into the lower back. Allowing that sense of inner space, even though the lower back is compressed in this pose. And then when you come down, use your fingers to pull yourself forward and rest one cheek on the earth. And take a moment just to replenish on home ground. That place of safety, of sanctuary. Hands underneath the shoulders, this time pushing back through, hands and knees, tap the toes, and find your crouching dragon once more, crouching tiger. And then up into downward facing dog. As the right leg lifts behind you, and stepping forward between the hands. Now it's the turn of the left knee to rest down, the toes to flatten, squeeze the inner thighs towards each other, root into the earth, and come up, hands on the knee. Once again, tuck the tailbone under, see if you can feel that stretch through the front of the left hip, and then maybe melt down just a little bit. The arms come wide, up overhead, and then cactus arms once more. Feel how the shoulder blades are really snug on the upper back. And then imagine you could lean back against them as if you were leaning into the support of an armchair. Then the arms reach up one more time. Come either side of the front foot, tucking the back toes, and then taking a big moon step forward. Coming to the front of your mat once again. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Come into your forward bend. The knees can be bent as much as you like. There's no benefit of having pain early in the morning. Just an achy, stretchy, awakening feeling is all that we need. You may like to hold opposite elbows. That allows the extra weight to be dragged down by gravity so that we get all the stretch we need, but in this effortless way. And then releasing the elbows and rooting into the earth, rising up one vertebrae at a time. Lifting the shoulders up to the ears, rolling them back and down. And once again, finding your Tadasana, that place of steadiness and stillness, a complete yoga pose in and of itself. We're grounded, we're centered, the breath is flowing. Yoga meaning union of body and mind. And then let's move through another sequence. Inhale, the arms up overhead. And exhale, swallow dive down to the ground. Inhale, flat back. This time stepping left leg back into lunge. And then let the knee drop and the toes soften. Push down to come up. Once again, finding cactus arms. See if you can squeeze the shoulder blades against the upper back and lean into it. And then reaching the arms up and overhead. And bringing the hands either side of the front foot. Tapping the toes, step back, downward facing dog. Take a breath, deep into the belly. Feeling the belly expand, that space in the belly. And then the gentle out breath. Another in-breath. Feel that inner space and then floating forward into plank. Nice and long and strong, active thighs, active abdomen. Pushing the hands into the earth. And then releasing down, maybe knees, chin, chest, or chaturanga if that's in your practice. And then once again, rolling shoulders back, let the heart move with the in-breath. Exhale down. Taking the hands a bit further in front, spiky fingers. Lifting up. Exhale, release just a little bit. Inhale, lift. So the thighs, the pubic bone, these are our home ground now. They're connecting us with the earth. And then we're finding freedom in the upper body. Releasing all the way down. And then taking the hands far enough in front so that you can come up with straight arms. Shoulder blades pulling down the back. Long neck. Gaze out in front. And grounding the breath into the belly, into the lower back. Seeing if you can soften the buttocks. You're held on the earth by the hands, by the thighs, by the pubic bone. And then notice how the breath allows you to rise up just a few millimeters. Lengthening through the spine. And then lowering all the way back to earth. Maybe pulling a little bit the hands so that the spine lengthens. And then resting the other cheek on the ground. Take a moment to allow the breath to fill the lower back. Just to ease off any compression that happens in the cobra pose. And then the hands return underneath the shoulders, pushing back. Tucking toes, crouching tighter. Feel that length of the lower back. Feel the strength of the arms, the broadening across the shoulders. You can straighten into downward facing dog. And then again, just allowing the left leg to float into the sky. Stepping it forward between the hands. The right knee lowers this time. Toes soften. Arms come wide, lift up and overhead. And then cactus arms. And lean back against the gentle holding of the shoulder blades. Arms reach skywards and coming down. Toes tuck. And take your big moon step to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, forward. And push down to come up. Arms come wide once again, lift into the sky. And then bringing the hands gently behind the head. Find that freedom in the upper body. Lean the head against the hands. Find a little back bend. And then release. Stepping into or finding ourselves in our Tadasana, our steady mountain pose. So we've focused a lot on the freedom within the body, within our movement. Also just get a sense of the space around the body now. The gentle temperature of the air against your skin. Kind of opening awareness into the room itself, into your space. Allowing yourself to inhabit that space. To take up space. And then moving in to our next standing sequence. This time, we're going to bend the knees, so it's an Utkatasana, fingertips sweep against the earth. And then coming into this seated pose. If you like, you can add the cactus arms and lift the heart. Just choose what feels good for you this morning. And then reach the arms forward once again and bow into your forward bend. Inhale, flat back. And this time you'll take both legs back. You can either step one at a time or take a little bounce into downward facing dog. And then the right leg lifting up behind and coming into the chest, finding your three-legged plank. Inhale back. Right knee to right elbow. Inhale back. Right knee to left elbow. Inhale back. So we'll take those three orientations. So first of all, bring the knee into the chest and step the foot between the hands. And then keeping that back leg lifted, we're going to push down to come up into a high lunge. You can take cactus arms once again. Feel the back thigh hugging the femur bone as you melt down a little deeper. Maybe lifting the heart. And then reach the arms overhead and come down to earth. Step the leg back. Just take a moment to flow with the breath. To find your inner spaciousness once again. And then the right leg floats up behind. This time as you step it forward, you step it to the outside of the right hand. So into a lizard pose. So gently deepen here. You can be on the hands, or if you're already feeling quite open in the hips, you can come onto the forearms. These are just choices so that you feel sensation in the body. The pose is the same whether you're on hands or forearms. One is not better than the other. Slowly letting gravity deepen you into that. If you're on the forearms, come back onto the hands. And then step that leg back into downward facing dog. Take a moment to breathe, to find your inner space. And then the right leg floats up one last time. Bring the knee across the body. And then place the foot down a straight leg. So again, you're welcome to stay here. There may already be sensation in that right leg. Or you might want to shift the weight onto the right hand and the left foot and open up. Even leaning back a little bit. Just find some freedom here. And again, if you want something even more, you can reach that left fingers for the right toe and lift the foot off the ground. And if you fall, that's okay. That's what we learn. And release, stepping back, downward facing dog. Let's take a moment in child's pose just to catch your breath before we play on the other side. Deep breath in. Soft release. And then lifting back up into downward facing dog. So it's the left leg's turn. It'll lift up behind you. And then come the knees into the chest as you rock forward into a three-legged cat. Inhale back. Left knee to left elbow. Keep it lifted nice and high. Feel the warmth flowing through the body. Inhale back. And across to the right knee. So we know where we're going this time. Inhale that leg up behind. And then step it forward between the hands. When you're ready, push down to come up into that high lunge, and maybe including the cactus arms and that opening in the heart, that freedom in the upper body. And then release, hands to the earth, step back, downward facing dog. Breathing in and letting the out breath just dissolve any tension, any anticipation. Use the breath to return into this moment again and again. The left leg floats up once again. Step it to the outside of the left hand, and then find your deepening into the hips. Using the hands or the forearms. Just imagine that lizard coming down close, warming itself on the rock. Feeling the warmth of the sun on its back. Taking the time you need, a strong back leg holding you up. If you're on forearms, come back onto the hands. And then stepping back. Downward facing dog. Breathing in. Softening out. Right leg floats skywards one last time. Bringing the knee across the body. And then taking the outer edge of that foot onto the earth. The leg straight. And then opening up the right hand. Just feeling how it feels. Maybe leaning back. Space in the heart. And maybe, just for fun, grabbing for that big toe and lifting the foot. Then release. Foot steps back, downward dog. Float forward into plank, lowering down to the ground. And enjoy a moment of stillness. Aware of the heartbeat. Aware of the breath. Aware of the ground beneath. Providing steadiness, providing our boundary. And feeling all that space within the body and mind. So the hands can be back next to the thighs. And then with the forehead on the earth, as preparation, we're going to lift the feet. Reach the fingertips back towards the feet, lift the heart, finding our locust. Feeling all the muscles along the spine engaging, pushing the pubic bone down and flying above the earth. And then release. Notice how it feels just to let things flow out. One more locust. This time you're welcome to interlace the fingers behind the back. Squeeze the palms together. Just use that boundary as a way to lift into a different variation of the pose. Maybe lifting the hands a little. Letting the heart lift, pubic bone connecting you with the earth. And then the breath flying you up into that place of freedom. And release. Everything softens, spreads, the earth welcoming you back home. How does it feel just to be still? Is that familiar or unfamiliar territory for you? Can we give ourselves permission to open into these pockets of stillness and to find the spaciousness within them? And gently, when you're ready, no rush, pushing back into child's pose. So we reconnect with those three home grounds: the earth itself, the lower tantien in the belly, and then our attentional home as the breath moves through the body, touching down into the belly, rising back. Spreading the fingers nice and wide, engaging the arms, feel the muscles hugging onto the bones. And then gently find your way into a crouching tiger. And from here, you're welcome to take little steps to the front of the mat, or after a long out-breath, when the body is empty and light, then take a little bounce. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. And then sweeping fingers from the back to the front, ending as we began in this Utkatasana. Maybe with cactus arms and a little lift in the heart. And then reaching up. Finding the full length of the body. The palms can come together. Urdhva Hastasana. Feel that full length as we connect with the earth, so we can rise up into the space above. And then the palms softly come down the midline to the heart. And notice what's here for you in the body, the heart, and the mind. And one last strengthening pose before we meet the earth. And to take the feet wide, toes pointing outwards. Some call it horse pose, it's like riding horse. Some call it the goddess squat. So you can take the inner part of your fingers on your thighs. That can just help to give you a boundary. The shoulders feel like they come up to the ears for a moment, and then you can grow out of it. Just feel that you're holding yourself here so that you can melt into the hips. So this is just rediscovering the inner thighs from our Thursday class. Just feel how it feels. And then using the strength of those thighs, hug them around the femur bone, bring the arms up and overhead, and then once more, find your cactus. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Bring the elbows towards each other. See if you can maybe deepen a little bit, and open the heart. Squeeze together. Just one last time, the thighs maybe wobbling like a sewing machine. And then gently straightening the legs. And bowing forward, bringing the toes to the front. so that we can find our very long downward dog, our wide-legged dog. Imagine water flowing from the tailbone all the way down the spine. And then walking the hands back. Heel toe the feet in towards each other. And coming into a little squat. Hands at the heart. Feel the boundary of the elbow against the inner knees. That should give you some stability. And then lifting the heart up, finding that sense of lengthening, that freedom in the body. And then releasing down. So we'll come into constructive rest. That's familiar for most of you, but just let me show you. If you're not familiar, you're going to keep the feet on the ground, the knees bent, and the back flat on the earth. Breathing in, breathing out. You can press the back of the head a little into the earth so that you can pull the shoulder blades down a bit and feel them flattening there. And then gentle spinal rock, so the pubic bone moves towards the toes, the lower back arches, and then gently scoop the tailbone under. Feel that pelvic rock, just undulating the spine. Just as we did in cat and cow, but here you have the boundary of the earth. Just restricting the movement a little bit. And then take your baby toes to the edge of your mat. So the feet are wide. You can take your arms wide as well. And then gently windscreen wipe up. From side to side. Feel that gentle twisting in the spine. The massage along the buttocks and the sacrum. Finding ease and flow and inner freedom. And then when your knees have dropped to the left, just let them stay there and bring the left foot onto the right knee. You'll feel that extra weight and the stretch along the right thigh. So see if you can breathe into that quite intense stretch, letting the thigh muscle lengthen, using the weight of the foot just to create that boundary. And then release, let the left foot slide off back to the edge of your mat. And then gently rock the knees to the other side. So both knees facing right. And then your right foot lifts onto the left knee. And feel that weight stretching all the way from the left hip bone down to the knee. See if you can breathe through any sensation so that on the out breath there's a sense of softening and releasing, of letting things be just as they are. And then release. The feet a little closer together. We're going to move into a twist. So let the right leg come up into the sky. Cross it over the left. And then dropping the knees to the left. If you have a blanket or a cushion that you want to rest the knee onto, you're very welcome to use that. And then see if you can Keep the right shoulder on the earth and gaze towards the right hand. And imagining the breath spiraling through the spine like a corkscrew. Notice where you can soften. Are you holding tension in the inner groin? Where can you release into the twist? Twists, as you may know, are very powerful poses for cleansing, purifying the body. It's like squeezing out a dishcloth. And then we can fill it once again with something pure, something clean, clean breath. And gently releasing from the twist, uncrossing the legs, finding a moment of symmetry. And then the left leg skywards, cross it over the right. Dropping the knees to the right, you may need to hitch the hips a little, just so that the spine stays in a line. And caterpillar the spine long, and then gaze out towards the left fingertips. And the focus in this pose is the out-breath. The in-breath will always find you. The body knows how to breathe. But we can slow down the out-breath and notice how it gives us the opportunity to release around anything that's holding us in its grip. So the out-breath is another way to find freedom. And then gently untwining. Once more into constructive rest, maybe some little pelvic rocks just to ease out the spine after the twists. And then letting one heel come to the outer edge of your mat and the other. If you have any lower back vulnerability, it can be comforting to put a pillow or a blanket underneath the knees. And of course, to keep warm and cozy and safe, you're welcome to cover yourself with a blanket. So again, this is where having a boundary, this time from on top, that sense of weight of the blanket allows us a greater sense of safety and sanctuary. Coming home to the ground. And keeping a very light attention on the out-breath. Maybe with a sense that every exhale allows you to merge and release into the embrace of Mother Earth. Notice whether the mind has wandered off. Gently return it to the experience of releasing the outlet. And gifting yourself 5 more deep breaths. And gently bringing movement to the toes and the fingers. And then drawing one knee and another into the chest, giving yourself a chance for a little hug. And then rolling to whichever side feels nourishing for you this morning. And levering your way back up to a seated pose. You can stay wrapped in the blanket. It's giving that sense of safety and sanctuary. And so we'll offer our dedication on the sound of an Om. And as we make this sound together in our own space, just imagining that we're offering out whatever benefit we gain this morning. So any sense of how we have so much internal freedom within us at all times. We can find it with the breath, we can find it with movement. Even if we're feeling locked in or compressed in some way, let's just find a way to navigate our inner world and find what it offers. So you're welcome to take a long in-breath and then a sigh. And inhaling together. Another in-breath. Gentle release. Namaste. Have a wonderful day.